Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. Our brothers and sisters on 91.9 RealFM. We also coming on YouTube and Facebook. You could listen to us. We speak about anything on our program. Politics, religion, socioeconomic issues, any issue trending, a topical issue of the day. But most important, you can interrupt us at any time. We take calls and you can introduce your own subject matter. We believe on this program that even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. It doesn't matter whether you swallow the grammar book or whether you could speak vernacular or dialect. Once we could cipher out what you want to see, you're welcome. We don't have the technology or the skills and talents to take in individuals with sign language yet. But you're always welcome to our program, and you don't have to bother with what we're speaking about. You could introduce your own subject. So the number to call is 442-0175, and sometimes we like people to open bat and open the bowl. We normally fix the pitch, but we don't tamper with the balls. So give us a call. The number, yes, caller, welcome.
Hey, Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
Good afternoon.
Great.
How was the weekend?
Good, man. It was another good evening.
Okay, thanks. God bless. If you pay this afternoon, I want to speak about transformation and the real transformation. And transformation that is not only tapped, but it was a transformation that was talked about and it was manifest. And I want to talk about the transformation in liberalization of the telecommunication. And so, Pierre, in 1995, into 2000, in 1995 and 2000, it was the New National Party administration that led the liberalization of the telecommunication network in Grenada. You had the infrastructure was expanded with the help of electricity poles already serving areas where only track existed accommodating the lines from the sister utilities. We had development of electricity and telecommunication. Sectors was a key for the digital transformation initiative that follow through projects such as e-service, digital. But Mr. Pierre, when you speak about liberalization and transformation, remember in a village where you used to live, so that 2 or 3 persons may have a phone. And when you check out with the calls, you have to make a call to outside. Is the amount of money you have to pay. But right now, because of liberalizing the telecommunication, what you find happen? You see, like some a man don't want to do what they do. He alone have the service. But when you get communication, when you get a competition, what happens? You have to change. You have to change because one man may lower his price, and they keep, he lose customers. And We have only Lime and the income GDCL, and that make a great change in people's life. I call it development and transformation, and not only a transformation that was talked about, but it was a transformation that talk and it manifests. Look during up the amount of construction was taking place. When boat come here, the cement is to last a week. But I remember in 2008, cement used to be staying in farms long because hardly any construction was taking place. So, Mr. Pierre, I want to say, when we speak about transformation and real transformation, that real transformation began in 1995 to 2002 under the NNP administration.
Yes, scholar. Yes, scholar. Transformation is a thorough or dramatic change of form or appearance. The landscape is a radical transformation. Yes, scholar. Yeah, you have the metamorphosis through the life cycle of an animal. They have been transformed. So it was an egg, a larva, pupae, and a butterfly fly out. That is transformation. In physics, to induce a spontaneous change of one element into another by nuclear process. But in politics, is whether you convince the public you transform. You could stand up right where you are. But if you have enough propaganda, enough information, and you could convince the public you transform, is also transformation in politics. Yeah? And as we reach on this subject matter, we'll speak about somebody changes subject matter. Is the fact that the government of the day decided to transform the life of the elderly by taking away from them their income. The government of the day is dissatisfied with the improvements that the elderly in our country is making. Not any elderly, the marginalized elderly. The people in the lower income group, they have been assisted by the previous government to improve their life. And this NDC government decided to transform it back. You remember these people, a lot of these people got assistance to have toilet facilities. So they did not have toilet facilities inside the house. They had to go out of the house and use the toilet. And the government decided, no. We want all Grenadians to have the facility to have toilet. Nothing is wrong in having an outside toilet, but you must have toilet inside your house. And because of these people's economic situation, government decided to help them. So I think the first phase of it, they attempted to introduce toilet facilities to 10,000 homes. I don't know if they completed all, but that program got a lot of licks, a lot of criticism from the National Democratic Congress. They thought it was a program basically for political purpose, for vote catching, and for handout. So the NDC perhaps was so upset with programs like these that they decide now to transform the people's life back, to make it extremely difficult for these people to function. So the NDC removed $150 from the money, the income that these people been getting. Now, we have to understand there are some Grenadians that are getting $125 a month for pension. Most of these people would be in their 80s, late 70s, 80s, 90s. They was involved in Provident Fund. And they didn't pay much money in NIS. So NIS giving them $150 a month. Some of them are in good position or in better position. But some of them is not in good position. So government over the years has addressed some of the individuals and reached to the point where they're getting $450. I want to take you back to 2008. I think that is significant. The National Democratic Congress promised in 2008 to raise the amount these people was getting to $400. The National Democratic Congress used an elderly person from St. Patrick's. I don't know if he was from La Fortune, Mades, or Lamoud, somewhere in St. Patrick's. I can't remember the name of the individual. They used this individual to advertise that if you vote for the NDC, you will get $400. I remember that article on television. When the National Democratic Congress win the election in 2008, they refused to increase it. They did not increase it. Instead, they say they have to sanitize the program, and they remove a significant number of the elderly people from the program. I made mention, and I will continue to make mention, in the village of Paraclete, which is not necessarily considered as a low-income area, although you have people there with a lot of low income. Paraclete is a place where you had a lot of farmers, a lot of big-name farmers, where a lot of people have land. 5 women was removed from the program. They removed men too, but it doesn't speak about men. 5 women were removed from the program. One of them is about 98, 99 years today. One of them had 14 children. Only one child, I believe, had a secondary school education. One of them were blind. The National Democratic Congress removed these 5 women. In some instances, they said one had a lot of children that educated. They said one had television and electricity in the house. But 3 of the women did not have inside toilet. Yet, the National Democratic Congress removed them. At that time, some moderate NDC supporters in the village, I shame on the NDC. And the people were removed because in all the cases, they said the children was NNP. Some of the children was NNP. So that happened in 2008. 14 years. Another government come and raise it to $450. And the National Democratic Congress dropped that. Remove it by $150. I have asked myself 1,000 times, why is it the National Democratic Congress, every time they come in power, every time, they take actions immediately that is disadvantageous to the elderly, the physically challenged, and people involved in the e-money program. I wish some of the national members of the National Democratic Congress could explain to the public why. I wish Dr. Bob, because why I call Dr. Bob? Because Deacon Mitchell favors him as one of the top journalists. The photogenic one, the writers, and other journalists that propagating the NDC now would ask them, why is it every time they come in power, Within 1 year, the biggest issue is the attitude towards the disadvantaged, the elderly, and the challenged in Grenada. I would like to demand that the NDC return the money they have taken from the elderly. It is disgraceful. It is shameful. The money was taken without explanation, without justification. Because the Minister of Social Affairs announced in December that 150 will continue, and the Minister of Social Affairs agreed in January that the money should be removed, and she didn't have the decency to even inform the people that the economic situation have changed so drastically in Grenada that it become necessary to prosecute the elderly. No explanation, no justification, no reason. The Minister of Social Affairs had the elderly and challenged line up in Grenville. In line. I don't know about the other parish. And then only then to find out that the money was improved. I consider that as violence. I consider that as an act of violence. Psychological violence. Emotional violence. People cried. It's not everybody who cried. 1 or 2 people cried. Now, why is it a political party? What's wrong with the DNA of the National Democratic Congress? That every time they come in power, the first act that they do is to disadvantage the elderly. And I believe the reason why they do that social status, class. The NDC radical group always believe they're better than everybody else in Grenada. They're brighter and they're smarter. And they don't agree that these people have toilet in the house now. They feel they go show off. They're in a better position. So it appears that they enjoy when the marginalized in Grenada are uncomfortable, are disadvantaged. So their class structure be secured. Cotton said, after visiting Grenada, was surprised at the class structure in Grenada. The class structure in Grenada is different from most countries. Somebody could be living in the same community with you, but he believes he is better than you because he has a better education, because he has a better view. He believes that he is better. This is the shock Maurice Bishop got. Because when Eric Gary program to the proletariats, you didn't used to call them proletariats. The opposition then we used to call them estate children, the illiterates. Gary gave them land. But they understood the power of land. So they become proprietors. So even if the GNP then, they did not used to call them illiterates again, they said they was stinking Garyites. Because they become proprietors. They had land. If you go back to the history of Grenada, the Nutmeg Association at that time was having meetings, but they did not want these people who had land to be members of the board. They say all dog and cat want to say no, there is Nutmeg members. So government had to take decision that once you are a producer of nutmeg, you and they did not make money and bring in Barbados. I'll never come back. You have to understand that, to start to understand what goes on in the mind of the National Democratic Congress. In yesteryear, because the moderates in the NDC had a lot of clout, the pureness of NDC was not shown. So we are demanding that the National Democratic Congress return the money they have stolen from the elderly. This is a fundamental line of demarcation in this country. If the NDC gets away with depriving the elderly, the challenged and marginalized, Grenada is going back to the dark days. The class structure in Grenada will be more marked. Training school will be greater affected because you're going to see that class structure extending to the schoolhouse. These individuals walk around this country as if like turkey cock because they believe they are lawyers or they have a master's degree or they have a PhD. They believe they're in a different class structure. They are aware that because of the democratic system in Grenada, that they need and these people to support them. Remember, in 2008, the deciding factor in this election was the fact that they felt that people fed up with Kit Mitchell they too long. But they offered that they would raise the amount of money to $400. This is significant for poor people who fighting to make ends meet. They promised that they will raise the Imani's program to $1,000. And they gave them the verbal assurance that they would not be fired. As soon as the NDC come in power, they fired the Imanis. And they never raised their money. As a result of that, they lost election. And in 2023, 22, the NDC go back in the lab again and come up with more lies. They bring a law. They offer honey and molasses. And they were successful again. What did they do? They promised in Grenada to make all workers who are on contract permanent. They said there is absolutely no need for contract workers. There is no need for the parallel public service. They say it is illegal. They say it is lawless. They say they only employ you on contract because they want to fire you at the whim and fancy. I have seen, this was a law. And they promised everybody will get pension. Even people in construction and the daily bed, they believe they were covered. And they won election. And immediately, the first group to go was the women of Carriacou. So that is why we demand that the NDC must give back the elderly their money. We are at a crossroad in Grenada. We are on a collision course. We know that the NDC have a hardened heart. And when they are challenged, their hearts will get harder. Maybe you have to pound that heart. Maybe you have to get a sledgehammer and pound that heart so it becomes soft and palatable and sensitive. So they could recognize that they must give back the elderly their money. But in a democracy, we need to love. We need to convince the National Democratic lobbying them, make them understand, show them justification, the rationale, while what they're doing is evil, why what they're doing is unconscionable, why the actions they're taking is going to have serious negative consequences for the elderly in our country. People are going to start to treat the elderly very badly because the NDC starts the template. But how would we lobby? Deacon Mitchell is a lawyer. And he was sold as a man with contacts and deep pockets. First time in the whole Caribbean, a politician has been sold like that. He has contacts and deep pockets. So I believe Deacon Mitchell is using the fact that he's a lawyer to convince the public that all the lawyers supporting him, or the majority of lawyers behind his back. So that is why I make my appeal to the Bar Association. Within your means, within your means, you have a lawyer that seems to be getting rogue. Anytime an individual target the elderly in the society and disadvantage them without justification and without reason, our ordinary minds must be concerned. Because the Bar Association are the best legal minds in our country. They are well-educated people. They do humanities, they do sociology, they do psychology, they do economic history, and they read the law. So they are constantly seeking, have the ability to do research. They could do comparability and reference with other countries. So we appeal to the bar. We know your training has helped to desensitize you about elderly. You don't meddle normally about these people. You only concern about yourself. But we appeal to you. One of your colleagues have turned rogue. To counsel him. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yeah, I like your program. I'm listening to it right now. I like you to continue for the elderly people. Thank you.
Yes, caller. So we want to appeal to the Bar Association to counsel Dick Mitchell, the Prime Minister, or seek justification or rationale why he is on that collision course. If you agree with Dick Mitchell's action, say that publicly. You don't have to agree with us, but we need your voice. If you agree that Dick Mitchell is right to take the elderly money in the manner in which he did it, without justification, without reason, and without rationale, then tell us. If you disagree, then let Dick Mitchell know. Because he has been sold as a man with contact. Now, I believe lawyers collectively work for the most money in the country as a collective group. We have poor lawyers who are struggling. But lawyers as a collective group make the most money in the country. And you are well educated. And you are the best legal minds. And the public have great respect for you. So as a bar, I know you never have a history of getting involved, intervening in any conflict in Grenada with the intention of having an amicable settlement. You never involve. Of 51. On the side of it, you supported the plantocracy. The struggles of 74, you was against independence. You helped to fight down Gary. In the struggles of 79, that was an interesting one. Tillman Thomas was in jail. One of our lawyers in Grenville, after he was threatened by Maurice Bishop, he peed himself. Mr. Blaze went to Carriacou after he was threatened. He sit down on a rocking chair and he prayed for the Americans to come. I had a discussion with Uncle Ben on a regular basis. He said, leave them alone, leave them alone, leave them alone, don't bother. Leave them alone. And he waved everybody. Pierre, he waved irrespective of the fact that Lloyd Noel was in jail and Tillman Thomas was in jail, and he knew a prominent lawyer in Grenville P. himself, and Dr. Jensen Otway was in jail, and Dr. Japal was in jail, and a number of strong businessmen, Leslie Phillip, well, he wasn't a businessman, he was a police. He knew that some police toes was ponged out. He knew the castrate broker, but the lawyers stayed quiet. The Bar Association never intervened. I strongly believe in 1983, when Vincent Noel was giving out communique, and he said, we have a car with guns, and we want 200 people to retake the telecommunication system to establish contact with the rest of the world. And like that, bam, 200 people go with the car and get it done. I'm certain if the Bar Association had intervened then and said, let's talk, they would. When Vincent Noel came back and he said, Bernard Code, Ewart Lane, Liam James, Leon Cornwall, Hudson Austin, and other names he called, report to the nearest police station. That was a declaration of war. I always believe if the president of the Bar Association had called and said, let us mediate, because I don't think they wanted to kill Grenadians. Remember, the Angola option was one of the options on the table in Grenada, the Angola option. So the Codite fraction knew, but there was no Grenadian organization that had the clout to intervene more than the Bar Association. You never intervene. Not even a woman pleading that she was pregnant could have stopped the rage and bitterness and anger and hate and phobia that caused us to shoot down people on the foot. Pick up some of the remains with spade, burn the body, and bury it. So I plead with the Bar Association today to intervene in this pending collision, because we must give back the old people their money. The excuse that the NDC and the Minister of Social Affairs is making is vexatious and frivolous. They are arguing that the previous government only budget for 1 year. Well, all budget is for 1 year. And I am absolutely certain, because of the deterioration in the economic situation, if the previous government won the election, they would have increased the amount that these old people were getting. So I call on the Bar Association, get involved now. I don't have a history of studying anybody in Grenada. Get involved now. Because Deacon is also using you as the people he have deep contacts with. Counsel him. Get involved. We could prevent another disaster in Grenada. In a democratic system, it's always important to lobby. And the Bar Association have a long history. You are the best legal minds in the country. You have an association. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, my brother.
I hope
Sister.
Mr. Dick Mitchell, the Prime Minister, is listening to that program. I don't know. I mean, why he can handle this? I don't know if you could call an election now, a plea to step down and let the NMP party come back to rule. Because as far as I see, honestly speaking, I don't see no other party that could put Grenada forward and would move Grenada forward more than the NMP party. Let the NMP party stay right there as long as they're doing well, even though they say for 40 years, 50 years, when the people get tired, they say we tired with one government, let me get that change. I don't see no two party because I don't see no other party more than the NNP. Thank you very much.
In a democratic system, it's not like that. And people remove the NNP. In a democratic system, the democratic system in Grenada, we have a call on the line. The democratic system in Grenada is fair. From the post-83, we have changed government. And irrespective of the noise people making the system is fair. And all the political leaders know the system is as fair as it could be. There is no perfect system. Within 24 hours, all the leaders post-83 conceded defeat and congratulated the next one. So Deacon won the election fair and square. What has happened? A lot of people did not understand the philosophy of the NDC. The NDC radicalized political group. Remember, when your own group threatened to throw pee on the older people, tell you how radicalized they are. Look at the language they use. We the good people. Restorative justice. We have to sanitize. Needy and greedy. Traitors. This is the language that comes from the mouth of the National Democratic Congress. Co-nuclei. And this is the result of the philosophy that they have. They believe these people that they give 10,000 toilets, they go believe they're in good class with them. That's one of the problems here. And a number of Grenadians who is poor believe they're rich. So we have a number of that working for under $3,000 a month. But they believe that they're in a different class. And that's the challenge we have. Grenada class system doesn't follow logic. A guy would not work in Ticolo for $1,000 in a business that is in front of his door, but he go in St. George's and work for $1,100. I had a discussion with a young man about 2 months ago. He was working as a security guard for $96 a day. And he was working for 23 days in a month, give or take. He was spending $575 for transportation. He used to work $60 a day with a farmer. And I asked him how long he used to work. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon,
Yes,
brother.
caller, welcome.
How are you going?
Great, man.
Are you independent shipping, man?
Independence is always good for me, because I believe you're only independent when you know how much you need people.
Good. Brother, what we are getting now, it shouldn't be a surprise to us, because since in the beginning of the NDC town office, we realized they started on the wrong footing. The first thing that they did, they gave themselves 2,000 and more and the salary. And the excuse that was made is for them not to thief. They give them 2,000 something for them not to thief. They work. They make a big grandstand about the pension right now. I'm waiting and to see. I don't know if that continuing. I don't know. I mean, if I would not be lucky, but I realized that they put a halt. They put a halt on that. I gave a guy a ride on Friday, to be exact. The guy is not no friend of mine really, but I'm doing very well. And because he knew that I support NMP, he threw a little talk, and more or less I choose to respond. And to be honest, I was surprised what he was actually telling me. What happened especially in the St. David's area, the constituency that the Prime Minister himself represents. What he's actually saying is that there is a more chief than Indians. And when I sum it up, I realized what he was saying. He was actually saying to me that there is a lot of bosses, a lot of bosses in St. David. Some of them get concession, new vehicles. I know of two of them for that matter. Get concession. Why? Because they were activists on the ground. And the office in St. David, who's supposed to be working there? They don't have no control. This little guy's name is really, really control of what's happening. And to be honest, I really, really kind of fed up. If the chauvinist was carrying on the NMP, a lot of people take the streets already. But we are not calling for that. We are just here to point out when things are not going right. And I need more people to come out and speak out as to what is happening. Because things, my brother, things are nice. Things not nice. People are already feeling the pain out here. You're hearing it from the shopkeepers. The shopkeepers, you're hearing it from the salespeople who go around selling the little stuff to the shops. They themselves, well, that means something is really well. I mean, it's something that the NMP was telling us before the election, and we didn't listen. So at least we have to pay for it. But at the same time, let us pray that things will turn around, because trust me, I'm scared that things will just get a lot worse. And if these guys are come for two terms, that you are saying, and they behaving so in the first term, what we expect in the second so-called term they are talking about. You know what I mean? If they're not in the first one, that means we will have no control over them in the second. Thank you, brother.
Yes, scholar. In a democratic process, people have to lobby. One of the things we don't do in Grenada, we don't lobby. We demonstrate first, and then we go on talk. No, you must talk, and you must exhaust the discussion. And we could convince Dick Mitchell without having to pound the heart of NDC. If the Bar Association decide to engage him, because to some extent he will dilute the significance of the bar in Grenada. Most of this association want to command respect in a society, and they don't want people to show them up as being generally wicked, conniving, and evil. So if they have a rogue member, it's in their interest to hold discussion with the member. Maybe he must have some mental infection. Maybe it's a psychological problem. Maybe he didn't expect. Maybe he has interfered with Maurice Bishop's spirit, and that has traumatized him. But within his political group, only two individuals I see there with the necessary, yes, scholar, welcome.
Sorry to call that, but
No, you could.
what I think about the 150 that was added to the eligible people for 1 year. I've been here in 1 year. Let's suppose that Dr. Keith was back in thing, and he had removed it. I wonder what the people would have said. Because it is 1 year, he put it for 1 year, and the people expect, yes, he had to remove it when he 1 year. This government come and I can't get it. Yes, there was for 1 year and they see that and they remove it. as you said, they said they didn't have money to pay. So what is the big issue? What is that going on? If you say you haven't got money to pay, I don't see they should take that and make a big issue. I don't understand it. Thank you very much.
Yes, the government, a budget is for 1 year. So in a case like that, your budget, that increase the people for you. The next budget cycle, you might have increased it. But if the arguments you advance then, we increasing it by 150 because of costly then, and the cost increase. Remember, when there was no tax on sugar, when the government put it, a number of people didn't lose their job. The economic situation in the world worsened. No. The government put a fix on gas. We change it now. So if the government, even if the government had intention of moving it, the arguments they advance is because the economic situation. The economic situation worsened. And I do not have a slightest belief that NNP would reduce it. They would increase it. Even if it's at $25 more, Keith Mitchell would have increased it. That is the nature of the man. That is why he invested in 10,000 toilets. Why he invested in the Imani program. That is why they invested in Project Fly. That is why they invested in the caregivers program. Because the NNP always concerned about the people in the lower economic strata. The National Democratic Congress is the government that every time they come in power, the first thing they do is to go after this group of people. Why they go after them? Well, I don't know, but I believe it's because the NDC believe they are the smartest things in sliced bread. You try to hold a discussion with one of the political activists or the social media warriors of the NDC. If they speak to you, if they entertain this discussion, within 5 minutes, they're calling you names. Either they say you're stupid, you're dunce, you say radio for your supper, you sing it for your supper, and they ask you who is paying you. Listen to some of them who take me on my program. So it is in the DNA to be like that. But no, we are on a collision course. So the first thing you do is to lobby. If that doesn't work, then you have to pound the heart of the National Democratic Congress, even if you use a sledgehammer. So it softens it and make them understand that all Grenadians are good people. Not only Willie that good. Willie say we good people. And when it comes from William Joseph, I was shocked. Knowing this gentleman, I hold him in the highest respect and regards. Very, very, very educated man. Very, very intelligent man. Always in and expressing, making moral judgment calls. He is the only strategic analyst on public policy expert in the whole OECS. So when he gets radicalized, it is frightening. He said, we're the good people. And he was so dismissive of us on the radio. He said 3 fellas in RealFM making noise. When you find intellectual like that become radicalized, become frightening. This is why I go to the bar. Nobody will speak to Willie because I think he might entertain me. But no, I don't think you're going to entertain me. You listen to me. That is why I went to the bar. Because the people, the lawyers are bright people. Some of them have the fee on the door, you know. Before you enter, $350. I don't see it on any medical doctor do. I don't know if they have. But before you speak to them, some of them you have to pay. They're in a special elite intellectual group. So when this group turn against the poor people, it's not easy. This would call for dramatic change. Those that Gary evolved. When the British took Gary was asking for $1. It's a sad thing when these intellectuals turn against the ordinary rustics. They believe they're in a different class. Albert Einstein warned us about the intellectuals. Their head gets so big and so swell that they turn against the marginalized. And it's in that capacity I plead with the Bar Association. I know you doesn't meddle with ordinary people. You have never intervened to save the day in Grenada. One lawyer told me once, anytime you have conflict, some of the people to benefit the most are lawyers. Because you must go to them to go to the court for litigation, to defend, or whatever, you must go to them. So they benefit from conflicts. But because George Breezen wrote Island of Conflict, and Mr. Blaze say Grenada is like milk on fire, you're watching it, you boil up and fall. And this issue of robbery, violence to the elderly, we are on a collision course. Because we are collision course, beg association. If you agree that didn't take the money from the elderly, say that. So people know your position. Don't play snake in the grass. Just because after a conflict, you're going to benefit. Lawyers benefit the most. The time has come for Grenada to settle down. We don't need another conflict. Every time we have a conflict in Grenada, people lose their lives. Other Caribbean countries come in. Look at the monument in St. David's when over 6 people were shot dead. Look at what happened in 1951. The British sent 2 battleships in Grenada. Look at what happened in 1974. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes,
Good
caller.
afternoon. Now, the Prime Minister said that marketing board, that you have to pay the salary of marketing board for January month. And he had meetings all over to decide what to do next. I am believing that he still have to pay marketing board for February too, because February is going to start the next day. And I believe you have to pay for February, because he said before he make a decision, he's going to come back to the relevant persons and explain what government want to do, to have a final say on it, before it becomes what he wants to do, or what they'll agree on. February is going to start, and the workers are there. He said to us that they have 92 persons working in marketing board. And one of the options is to have a partnership with the public, with farmers and shareholders and the public. To do that, it's going to take some time and to put some structures in place. So I am seeing that you have to pay the staffing in marketing board for next month again, which will mean that it's going to take a longer time before we see any real effect of a change in marketing board. Next thing, the Minister of Agriculture said that they expect 4 chill rooms that they could use, and it's still where they will be using. One in Ladig for the farmers of Ladig, one in St. George's in the marketing book, and one in Carriacou. Well, so 4. That is when they have excess produce, any produce. What? And you have this produce there in that chill room. How long is it going to stay in this chill room before it is set? And what are you going to do? Tell the farmers, don't produce until what they have finished? To me, I don't think the feasibility study of that is done properly yet. Because we have to look at what you will be telling the farmers to plant, what excess you will have. It's not like bananas when the banana boat come to Grenada. It can take almost every farmer, but well, not it can. So it takes all the bananas that are ready.
My brother, you in agriculture long. You don't find that because mouth open, more jump out. I mean, come on, you and I in agriculture long. If you bring in all this chill room, the justification and is that more marketing board become more necessary now? How they going to manage this chill room? And marketing board never make a cent. What you need to do is to have better management in marketing board.
I don't believe that.
That's all. Better management.
I'm saying I don't think.
Some of the guys managing marketing board, they can't manage a rabbit cage. They never even buy like a rum shop. They put on a tie in the neck, they buy a brand new vehicle. So everybody know they're good.
And be honest, the government allow them to continue doing that.
The government, you don't see the same attitude the government have in management? The government start up with spice. They're doing as if spice is cabbage or lettuce. Brother, we reach on, we want to call us tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah. So we are definitely, we're going to tell you quickly that the same example we was using, the guy is getting $96 a day, 23 days for the month. After he takes out the transport, the difference is $253. But he's working for 12 hours as a security guard and 3 or 4 hours as a farmer. And every night he leaves his women and children and going and secure people in Granans. What you think? You don't know you'll get on? Instead of when he finish, come out in the farm to go and fish, go and help his wife home for $253 more. He in St. George's leave his family every night and he working for 12 hours. I will continue to relay some of these jobs because a lot of Grenadians like status job. They want to know they're with a big firm in town and then they're in a big status, just as some of these politicians. So our plea is for the Bar Association to get involved because we're on a collision course. And we could avoid having it end up sour like history. Because if it's necessary to pound the heart of the NDC, we will have to do it. And we're glad we'll be with you today. And thank you very much, our participants on Facebook and YouTube and those on the radio. We have some little problems, technicalities with the internet, and you have some breakup, but please stay with us on the program. Thank you very much.